Maya Reeves clutched the edge of the observation deck railing, her knuckles white, as she fought to remain standing without revealing her pain. The spinal implant was malfunctioning again, sending electric jolts down her left leg. 5 years since the resource wars had ended, and her body still betrayed her daily. "Commander Reeves, they're ready for you." Maya nodded at the young lieutenant, straightening her dress uniform. Humanity's first diplomatic summit with the Galactic Consortium. 17 alien species with technology centuries beyond Earth's, and they'd chosen a broken soldier to represent them. Politics. Always politics. The diplomatic chamber bloomed before her, a massive biodome filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Atmospherics shifted seamlessly to accommodate species requiring everything from methane to liquid nitrogen. The Earth delegation looked painfully primitive in comparison, their simple blue uniforms standing out among the exotic array of environmental suits and natural exoskeletons. Ambassador Chen made introductions in halting galactic standard, while Maya studied the aliens. The Ardanians with their crystalline limbs that refracted light into hypnotic patterns. The insectoid Vespar, whose multifaceted eyes seemed to watch everything simultaneously. The towering reptilian Drakari, whose scales shifted colors with their emotions. The Consortium High Minister, a willowy being with translucent skin revealing multiple pulsing organs, addressed them. "Earth comes at an auspicious time. Your species' aggressive resource consumption has not gone unnoticed, yet your resilience during your recent planetary conflicts suggests potential worth exploring." Maya felt the diplomatic translator struggle with the layered meanings. Worth exploring. Like they were a mineral deposit rather than a civilization. The meeting proceeded with painful formality until an aide rushed in, whispering urgently to the High Minister. Maya noted the subtle shift in the alien's organ pulsations. Fear, perhaps. "We must adjourn temporarily," the minister announced. "Security protocols." The far wall exploded inward. Maya's military instincts overrode everything. While diplomats froze in shock, she was already moving, analyzing the threat pattern of the 5 armored figures emerging through the smoke. Their weapons, plasma-based, wide dispersal, targeted the High Minister. Time slowed as her combat augmentations activated, the last functioning remnant of her military enhancements. Maya launched herself forward, calculating trajectories even as her damaged spine screamed in protest. She had no weapon, no armor, only the certainty that if the consortium leadership died in Earth's first diplomatic summit, humanity would become a pariah species overnight. The lead attacker fired. Maya intercepted the plasma bolt with her body. The impact threw her across the chamber, the superheated plasma melting through her dress uniform and into the reinforced bone beneath. Through a haze of agony, she registered security forces neutralizing the attackers. Her implant shorted out completely, sending her nervous system into cascading failure. As darkness clouded her vision, Maya heard the High Minister's translator struggling to interpret its master's rapid speech. Unprecedented. Physical intervention. Sacrifice protocol. Maya woke 3 days later in an alien medical facility, her body suspended in a gelatinous matrix that pulsated with bioluminescent patterns. Ambassador Chen stood nearby, his expression unreadable. "You've created quite the diplomatic situation, Commander," he said without preamble. "The minister." Maya's voice rasped through a throat still raw from plasma inhalation. "Unharmed. The attackers were fringe separatists, political extremists opposed to consortium expansion." Chen moved closer, lowering his voice. "Your intervention violated 17 diplomatic protocols, bypassed 4 cultural taboos," and he paused, apparently impressed them more than any formal negotiation could have. Maya tried to shift position, discovering her body wouldn't respond. "My implant. Destroyed. The consortium physicians say your spinal damage is now beyond their conventional treatments." Chen's expression softened marginally. "However, they've made us an extraordinary offer. The consortium resolves all major disputes through ceremonial combat in something called the Arena of 17 Moons. Earth can receive provisional membership and access to resources if we provide a champion. And they want the crippled human who can barely stand. Maya's laugh turned into a cough. That seems counterproductive. Actually, yes. Chen handed her a neural tablet. The consortium believes that your selfless act demonstrated qualities worthy of evaluation. Their combat adjudicators have reviewed your military record and find what did they call it? Your capacity for continued function, despite catastrophic system failure, to be of interest. Maya scanned the tablet, her eyes widening at the details of the arena's complex rule system. This is a death sentence. Their current champion is a regenerating reptilian who literally regrows limbs mid-combat. There are options for enhancement. Chen gestured to a sealed container bearing diplomatic markings. Consortium law allows cybernetic augmentation within strict parameters. Maya continued reading, her tactical mind already identifying patterns. No full-body replacement, she noted, and the enhancements can't exceed 40% of original body mass. She looked up sharply. With my existing damage, that's not enough to make me competitive. Chen's expression became unreadable again. The diplomatic corps recommends declining. We can negotiate alternative terms. Something in his tone triggered Maya's suspicion. But military command believes this opportunity is too valuable to pass up. The technology transfers alone would advance Earth's position by centuries. Maya understood the unspoken message. Earth needed this alliance desperately. Resources were depleted, the climate was collapsing, and humanity stood on the brink. They needed a miracle, and somehow she'd become their designated miracle worker. She closed her eyes, feeling the phantom pain where her implant had once regulated nerve function. The diplomatic corps was right. She couldn't win. The logical choice was to decline, protect Earth's dignity in defeat. The smart choice was to walk away. But Maya Reeves had never been good at walking away. "I'll do it," she said, opening her eyes to Chen's poorly concealed shock. "But not with those enhancements. If I'm representing humanity, I'll do it as I am, damaged parts and all." "That's suicide," Chen whispered. Maya's lips curved into a grim smile. "Maybe. But let's show the consortium what human resolve really means." Outside the medical chamber, the consortium combat adjudicator, who had been silently observing, tapped a note into the Galactic etheric. Subject accepts without enhancement advantage. Preliminary evaluation. Psychological resilience factor exceeds all previous candidates by 43%. Recommend immediate arena preparation. The arena station loomed through the shuttle viewport, a massive ring structure orbiting a gas giant with 17 moons, each representing a member species of the consortium. Maya pressed her forehead against the cool glass, hiding her grimace as pain shot through her reconstructed vertebrae. The consortium physicians had done what they could, but without her military-grade implant, each movement remained a negotiation with her damaged nervous system. Quite the spectacle, isn't it? Ambassador Chen nodded toward the station. Each segment houses training facilities specialized for different combat styles. The central arena can reconfigure to simulate 17 distinct biomes. Maya barely heard him. Her attention had fixed on the newsfeed hovering in the shuttle's communal space. Her face, alongside animated alien text and what appeared to be betting odds. The translator in her ear supplied the commentary. Unprecedented insult or cosmic joke. Earth's so-called champion arrives today, a physically compromised specimen whose participation mocks our sacred traditions. The feed switched to footage of a massive reptilian being tearing through a combat simulator. While champion Drakung completes his pre-cycle preparations with perfect efficiency. Sources close to the champion say he finds the human challenger beneath notice. Chen deactivated the display with a grimace. "Perhaps it's better not to." "No," Maya interrupted. "I need to know what I'm walking into." The shuttle docked with a pneumatic hiss. Maya forced herself upright, refusing the mobility aid a medical technician offered. pain was temporary. Humiliation before 17 species would be permanent. The reception committee consisted of various consortium officials and one unexpected figure, a Vespar, its insectoid exoskeleton gleaming iridescent blue under the station lights. Unlike the others, it wore battle scars with pride, one antenna partially severed and its right forelimb clearly a prosthetic replacement. Commander Reeves, the translation came through her earpiece as the Vespar's mandibles clicked. I am Clyrix, 6-cycle champion, now assigned as your mentor. A formality only. I have better uses for my time than preparing a doomed human for slaughter. Maya met the multifaceted eyes without flinching. Then we already have something in common. I'd rather not waste your time either. The Vespar's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Your quarters are in Section 8. Training begins at first rotation. The first qualification match is in 6 days. I suggest using 5 for meditation on your life choices and 1 for writing final arrangements. Maya watched Clyrix walk away, the insectoid's clicking gait echoing in the cavernous docking bay. Ambassador Chen touched her shoulder gently. The diplomatic corps has prepared contingencies for when, if the matches don't go as hoped. Your participation alone has already secured some goodwill. Maya understood the implication. Just showing up was enough. No one actually expected her to win. I need access to the arena archives. Chen frowned. Your assigned mentor is supposed to. My assigned mentor has already dismissed me as a dead woman walking. Maya began walking toward the residential wing, ignoring the stabbing pain with each step. If I'm going to die here, I want to understand why. 6 hours later, Maya stood before a security terminal outside the arena's historical vault. Her official credentials had gotten her this far, but the final archive required higher clearance. Around her, the station's night cycle had begun. The corridors emptied of all but essential personnel. Maya placed her palm against the scanner, unsurprised when it flashed red. What did surprise her was the approach of heavy footsteps from behind. You won't access that without adjudicator clearance, Clyrix's voice came, the translation sounding almost smug. Maya turned slowly. I need to understand the rules. All of them, not just the public codex. Why? To find some loophole. The insectoid moved closer, towering over her. There are none. The rules have evolved over 3,000 cycles to account for every contingency. No system is perfect, Maya countered. Evolution implies adaptation to known variables. I'm a new variable. Clyrix's compound eyes seemed to study her with new interest. You cannot hope to match any consortium species physically. Your biology is inefficient. Maybe. Maya straightened despite the pain. But humans have survived on Earth by understanding systems better than their creators do. I need to see how the rules evolved, not just what they became. The Vespar was silent for a long moment. Then, to Maya's shock, it stepped forward and placed its natural limb against the scanner. The door hissed open. Your species intrigues me, Clyrix admitted. Most challengers seek advantages in strength, speed, or technology. None have ever asked to study history first. Maya stepped into the archive chamber, surrounded by holographic displays of ancient combat recordings. History tells us who we were. Rules tell us who we want to be. She turned to the Vespar. But the space between them, that's where we find who we really are. Before Clyrix could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. The vault doors slammed shut, sealing them both inside as emergency containment protocols activated. Security breach in archive section. An automated voice announced. Lockdown initiated. Estimated resolution time. 12 hours. Clyrix's mandibles clicked in what Maya was beginning to recognize as irritation. It seems, human, that you'll have your history lesson after all. Though this will be noted in your competition record. Maya was already moving among the displays, her eyes bright with focus. 12 hours. Perfect. That's exactly what I need. Contestant Reeves. Confirm combat readiness. The combat adjudicator's voice echoed through the preparation chamber. its translator struggling to convey the barely concealed disdain. Maya secured the final connection on her exoskeleton, a crude assembly of titanium supports and hydraulic assists she designed during her week of preparation. Compared to the gleaming technologies of the consortium, it looked like primitive scaffolding, which was precisely the point. "Contestant Reeves confirms readiness," she replied, testing the frame's responsiveness. The pain in her spine dulled to a manageable throb as the exoskeleton redistributed her weight. The 12 hours trapped in the historical archives with Orcs had yielded unexpected insights. While the Vespar had initially observed in hostile silence, Maya's methodical analysis of 3,000 years of combat evolution had gradually drawn him into discussion. By hour 6, they were debating the philosophical underpinnings of the regulatory changes following the Mindari-Ardanian conflict. "Your qualifying opponent is Gloop of the Visid Collective," Orcs now reminded her from the corner of the chamber, where he stood as her officially assigned mentor. "A gelatinous organism with no fixed shape and no vulnerable organs. Physical attacks are virtually useless." Maya nodded, checking the small compartments hidden throughout her exoskeleton. "I reviewed the footage. No central nervous system, no respiratory requirements, and it can divide temporarily to avoid impacts. Yet you seem unconcerned." Clarix's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Maya smiled. "I grew up on a diet of science fiction, where humans always found creative solutions to overwhelming alien advantages. Let's see if our writers were onto something." The chamber door slid open. The passageway to the arena stretched before her like the gullet of some massive beast. Maya took a deep breath and stepped forward, each movement accompanied by the whir of her exoskeleton's poorly lubricated joints. The arena itself was breathtaking. A massive circular platform suspended over an artificial chasm, surrounded by tiered seating for 17 species, each section environmentally controlled for its inhabitants. Today's configuration featured a smooth obsidian floor with numerous small drainage grates positioned at regular intervals. Across the arena, a glistening mass of translucent protoplasm oozed from the opposite entrance. Gloop had no discernible features beyond a darker nucleus suspended in its center. The creature stood nearly 3 meters tall, its amorphous body rippling with peristaltic movements. The spectators' reaction to Maya's entrance was immediate, a cacophony of translated jeers and mocking laughter. The arena's neural feeds broadcast close-ups of her jury-rigged exoskeleton, alongside commentary about human primitive technology. Maya ignored them, focusing on the task at hand. As she approached the center of the arena, she deliberately dragged her feet, creating a subtle trail of scuff marks visible only to the most attentive observers. "Combat parameters. Qualification match. Victory by submission or boundary displacement," announced the chief adjudicator. "Commence." Gloop wasted no time, its massive body surging forward with surprising speed, pseudopods extending to engulf her. Maya dived and rolled, her movements awkward in the exoskeleton, but just sufficient to avoid the initial assault. For 2 minutes, she maintained this defensive pattern, seemingly just barely escaping Gloop's increasingly aggressive attacks. The audience's mockery grew louder with each near capture. Maya's breathing became labored, sweat pouring down her face as she pushed her damaged body to its limits. Then, inevitably, she miscalculated. A pseudopod caught her ankle, yanking her off balance. Within seconds, Gloop's gelatinous mass surrounded her completely, the exoskeleton short-circuiting as conductive fluid penetrated its connections. The arena fell silent. On the massive display screens, Maya's vital signs began to fluctuate as her oxygen depleted. The Visid Collective representatives rippled with anticipation of their victory. Inside the suffocating protoplasm, Maya counted silently, feeling her consciousness beginning to fade. Her hand moved to a concealed switch on her belt. 3, 2, 1. Throughout the arena, the small drainage grates she passed during her defensive retreat suddenly erupted with fine white powder, ordinary sodium chloride, requested for her human dietary requirements, and painfully positioned during her seemingly clumsy evasions. The effect on Gloop was catastrophic. The salt created an immediate osmotic reaction, drawing water molecules from its protoplasmic structure. The creature convulsed, its gelatinous form destabilizing, as thousands of microscopic ruptures formed across its surface. Maya fell free as Gloop's body contracted violently, desperately trying to maintain cohesion. With the last of her strength, she crawled toward the center of the arena where her opponent, now half its original size, pulsed in distress. "Submit," Maya gasped, her vision blurring from oxygen deprivation. "Or I release the second wave." A symbolic pseudopod raised shakily into the air, the consortium gesture of surrender. The silence that followed was profound, 17 species collectively holding their breath. Then, from the Vespar section, Clarix rose and began a slow, deliberate clicking of his mandibles, the insectoid equivalent of applause. As medical teams rushed to stabilize both competitors, the arena's analysis feed exploded with commentary. Unprecedented tactical approach. Primitive chemical warfare. Species-specific biological vulnerability exploitation. Through the haze of emergency oxygen, Maya caught sight of Clarix watching her with what might have been respect. She managed a weak smile before unconsciousness claimed her, one thought clear in her fading mind. First blood to humanity. You should withdraw. Clarix's mandibles clicked with agitation as he paced the medical bay where Maya lay recovering. Your victory against Gloop was impressive, but Telix is different. Maya studied the neural tablet displaying her next opponent. A Mindari, their sleek silver body seeming to flow rather than move, neural pathways visibly pulsing beneath translucent skin. Unlike other species, Mindari had evolved as natural telepaths, their entire civilization built around the seamless exchange of thought. Different how? Maya's voice was still raw from her near suffocation during the previous match. Telix doesn't just read surface thoughts, he weaponizes memory. Clarix's compound eyes reflected the medical bay's lights in fractured patterns. No physical defense helps when he pulls your worst memories forward and forces you to relive them while the arena audience watches. Most opponents surrender within seconds. Maya's hand drifted unconsciously to the base of her spine where phantom pain from her war injury lingered. My demons and I are well acquainted. A soft chime interrupted them as Ambassador Chen entered, his diplomatic smile failing to mask his concern. Commander, you've accomplished far more than expected already. Earth has received preliminary resource allocations just based on your qualification victory. But, Maya prompted, recognizing Chen's political tone. Chen hesitated. We've received intelligence that betting syndicates across 16 systems have placed the largest wagers in arena history against you. There's significant financial interest in your defeat. That's not surprising. Maya swung her legs off the medical bed, suppressing a wince. It's more than that, Clarix interjected. The patterns suggest coordinated action by powerful factions. This has become more than sport. Maya stood carefully, testing her balance. The medical nanites had repaired the worst damage from her match with Gloop, but her original injuries remained beyond their programming. When is the match? Tomorrow. First rotation. Clarix moved toward the door. Meet me in docking bay 7 in 1 hour. There's something you should see first. The lunar observatory hung in space between the gas giant and its innermost moon, a crystal structure that seemed to capture and amplify the distant starlight. Inside, holographic representations of the original arena treaties floated like ghostly sentinels. Few outsiders are permitted here, Clarix said quietly as they traversed the central chamber. This is where the first combat codes were inscribed, 16,000 years ago. Maya studied the ancient text with fascination. Why show me this? Clarix gestured toward a massive spherical projection dominating the chamber center, a representation of the galaxy with pulsing lights indicating consortium worlds. The arena isn't just sport. It's how the consortium evaluates species worthiness for resource allocation, territory, survival. Maya understood the implication instantly. Earth's future depends on my performance. Yes, Clarix's alien features were unreadable, but win or lose tomorrow, you've already changed how they see humanity. The arena was configured differently for the quarter-final match. A stark white platform without features, designed to eliminate distractions and amplify the telepathic resonance. Every spectator seat was filled, the atmosphere charged with anticipation. Maya entered wearing only a simple gray jumpsuit. No exoskeleton, no hidden gadgets, no clever tricks. Against a telepath, deception was futile. Across the arena, Telix emerged, silver skin rippling with neural impulses. The Mindari moved with liquid grace, acknowledging the crowd with elegant gestures. Combat parameters: quarterfinal match, victory by submission or mental incapacitation, announced the chief adjudicator. Psionic protocols activated. Neural feeds engage. Commence. Telix didn't physically move. Instead, a visible wave of energy pulsed across the arena floor. The moment it touched Maya, the Mindari established telepathic contact, broadcasting the intrusion to the audience through the arena's neural feeds. "Let me show everyone why humans are unworthy." Telix's voice reverberated directly in Maya's mind as the arena displays flickered to life, showing the audience what the Mindari extracted. Maya found herself back on Mars Colony, 5 years earlier. Alarms blaring, atmosphere venting. The civilian evacuation she'd been tasked with protecting pinned down by insurgent fire. Her soldiers falling one by one as she pushed forward, her spine shattered by a proximity mine as she reached the airlock controls. The memory unfolded with brutal clarity. Maya dragging herself the final meters, fingers slick with blood, as she overrode the emergency protocols. The civilians escaping as she held the position alone, watching through security feeds as the remaining oxygen depleted. Her final transmission: get them home. That's all that matters. The rescue that came too late for half her team. The doctors explaining her spine would never fully heal. The medals awarded while she lay in a hospital bed, unable to feel her legs. The arena audience watched in fascinated horror as Maya's darkest moment played out on the psychic displays. Telix pushed deeper, expecting to find fear, to break her with her own failure. Instead, Maya did the unthinkable. Rather than resisting, she pulled Telix deeper into her nightmare, forcing him to experience not just the memory but the full emotional weight behind it. The crushing responsibility, the impossible choices, the guilt that never faded. And then, something Telix hadn't anticipated. Forgiveness. Not absolution or denial, but the distinctly human capacity to acknowledge failure, carry its weight, and continue despite it. On the arena floor, Telix's silver form began to convulse, overwhelmed by emotional complexities his species had evolved beyond. The telepathic feedback spiked, overloading sensors across 3 sectors. Maya stood unmoving, tears streaming down her face, but her gaze steady as Telix fought to disconnect from her psychological vortex. When the Mindari finally broke contact, he collapsed instantly, silver skin dulled to ashen gray. "I submit," he gasped, the words barely audible. Medical teams rushed forward as Maya remained standing at the arena center, the aftershocks of her resurrected memories visible in her trembling hands. "What did you do to him?" demanded the chief adjudicator, rushing toward the fallen Mindari. Maya wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "I showed him the weight humans carry," she replied quietly. "He wasn't prepared for how strong you have to be to bear it." Maya's victory over Telix transformed her overnight from curiosity to sensation. The arena's neural networks buzzed with analysis of the match, philosophers debating whether humans possessed some previously unknown form of psychic resistance. Medical teams still monitored the Mindari challenger, whose recovery progressed slowly, silver skin gradually regaining its luster. "You've become quite the celebrity," Ambassador Chen observed, scrolling through reports on his neural tablet. "The diplomatic corps is fielding inquiries from 12 species seeking bilateral relations with Earth." Maya barely heard him. Her focus remained on the neural display showing her next opponent, Grax, an 8-limbed warrior from Tauresis, a high-gravity world that produced beings of incredible physical density. Standing nearly 3 meters tall with a skeletal structure like reinforced titanium, Grax had won all previous matches through sheer overwhelming force. The semi-final berth requires your attendance at the consortium diplomatic reception. Chen continued. All remaining challengers are presented to the 17 delegations. Maya nodded absently. When? Tonight. Formal dress. Chen's expression softened slightly. How are you feeling after the telex match? The medical report mentioned lingering neural strain. Maya closed the display. I'm fine. A lie, but a necessary one. Reliving her worst memory had reopened wounds she'd spent years trying to close. Will Grax be at this reception? Yes, it's tradition for opponents to meet ceremonially before combat. The Grand Conservatory occupied the arena station's uppermost level, a massive biodome featuring specimens from all 17 worlds. Consortium dignitaries mingled beneath floating light arrays, their translators creating a constant background hum of conversion. Maya entered wearing Earth's formal diplomatic uniform, her posture rigid to hide the pain radiating from her spine. The room's ambient conversation faltered momentarily as attendees noticed her arrival, then resumed with increased intensity. Commander Reeves, a deep, rumbling voice addressed her from behind. Your methods are unorthodox but effective. Maya turned to find herself facing Grax. Up close, the Tauresian was even more imposing, each limb thicker than her torso, skin like burnished bronze plates overlapping in complex patterns. High-gravity engineering, she commented, gesturing to his physical structure. Evolved for crushing pressure. Grax's mouthparts shifted in what might have been amusement. And humans evolved for? What exactly? Your world seems unremarkable. Persistence, Maya replied. We evolved to outlast our limitations. Their conversation was interrupted by the approach of the Ardanian delegation, their crystalline forms refracting light in hypnotic patterns. The lead diplomat, Ambassador Vexera, according to Maya's translator, extended a glittering appendage in formal greeting. Earth's champion continues to surprise us all. The Ardanian's words chimed like flash bells. Perhaps we underestimated your species' potential. Maya accepted a beverage from a hovering service drone, noting Grax's courteous nod before he moved to speak with other dignitaries. The Tauresian seemed honorable, unlike the coldly calculating gaze of the Ardanian ambassador. Your semi-final match has generated unprecedented interest, Vexera continued. Resource allocation projections for Earth have been revised upward 3 times since your victory over Telex. Maya sipped her drink, a curious warmth spreading through her chest. The consortium seems quick to reevaluate. Adaptation is our strength, the Ardanian replied. Those who cannot adapt. The glass slipped from Maya's suddenly numb fingers, shattering on the floor. The warmth had transformed to burning pain radiating outward from her core. Her vision blurred, the room tilting violently. Medical emergency, someone shouted as Maya collapsed, her body convulsing violently. Through the chaos, she glimpsed the Ardanian delegation, retreating smoothly toward the exit while Grax pushed through the crowd toward her, genuine concern on his alien features. The station's medical bay was a flurry of activity as physicians from multiple species debated treatment options. Maya drifted in and out of consciousness, catching fragments of their urgent discussion. Molecular targeting, specifically engineered for her life support systems. Human physiology is responding unpredictably. Combat protocols require mandatory withdrawal if medical stabilization cannot be achieved. Hours later, Maya awoke to find Ambassador Chen and the chief medical officer in heated discussion. The poison specifically targets her medical implants, the physician explained, a cerebian whose 6 eyes blinked in alternating patterns. Her neural pathways are shutting down where they interface with the technology. She cannot compete in this condition. Then remove the implants, Maya rasped, her throat raw from intubation. Both turned to her in surprise. That would be fatal, the Cerebian stated. Your nervous system depends on those interfaces. Not all of them. Maya struggled to sit up. Just the ones controlling pain. The regulatory functions. Impossible, the physician declared. No sentient could function with that level of unfiltered neural feedback. Maya's gaze fixed on Chen. Find Clarix. Tell him I'm invoking trial under duress. The medical bay became an impromptu hearing chamber as the combat adjudicators assembled, their formal robes rustling as they took positions around Maya's bed. Clarix stood as her advocate, mandibles clicking occasionally in agitation. This clause has not been invoked in 7 centuries, the head adjudicator began. It suggests deliberate interference with a champion's preparation. The poison targets my medical implants, not my natural systems, Maya argued through gritted teeth. Either disqualify me for being augmented, or let me fight as I am. After tense deliberation, they granted her request with one condition. All medical support systems must be disconnected before combat. As the adjudicators filed out, Clarix remained behind. The Ardanians, he clicked quietly. You suspect them. Maya nodded weakly. They have the most to lose if Earth gains influence. Grax is honorable, Clarix warned. But he's also the strongest physical combatant in 3 generations, without your regulatory implants. I know. Maya closed her eyes briefly. But sometimes appearing weak is the strongest position of all. The arena fell silent as Maya entered for the semi-final match, her movements jerky and uncoordinated. Without her neural regulators, each step sent shockwaves of pain through her damaged nervous system. Her skin had taken on a gray pallor, her breathing labored and shallow. Across the arena, Grax waited, his massive form unnaturally still. The Torresian's expression was unreadable, but his posture conveyed reluctance. The medical monitors displayed Maya's vital signs for all 17 worlds to see: erratic heart rate, dangerous spikes in stress hormones, neural pathways firing chaotically without regulatory dampening. The combat physicians stood ready at the arena's edge, expecting imminent intervention would be necessary. Semi-final match. Victory by submission or incapacitation. The chief adjudicator announced, voice solemn. Commencement approved under trial under duress protocols. The combat began with Grax moving forward cautiously, as if uncertain how to approach an opponent so obviously compromised. Maya managed only token defense, using the arena walls just to remain upright, while Grax reluctantly pressed his advantage with measured strikes. The human displays admirable courage, but this match cannot continue much longer. The arena commentator intoned. Her biological systems are approaching critical failure thresholds. In the diplomatic observation box, Ambassador Chen watched with clenched fists as Maya absorbed another crushing blow that sent her sprawling. Beside him, Clarix's compound eyes reflected the monitors displaying her vital signs. Something is changing. The Vespar clicked suddenly. Look at her breathing patterns. The medical displays showed an inexplicable shift. Where Maya's respiratory system had been chaotic, rhythmic patterns began to emerge. Her neural pathways, visible on the arena's sophisticated scanners, showed signs of reorganization, new connections forming to bypass damaged sections. Midway through the match, observers noticed the transformation. Maya's movements, while still clearly painful, became more coordinated. Her eyes, previously unfocused, now tracked Grax with tactical precision. Impossible, whispered the chief medical officer. She's consciously redirecting her autonomic functions. In the arena, Grax had pinned Maya against a wall, his superior strength making escape impossible. As he prepared the submission hold that would end the match, Maya locked eyes with him. Your honorable heart deserves better masters, she whispered, words barely audible to the arena microphones. Then she reached for a control panel embedded in the wall, not to escape, but to trigger the arena's environmental systems. Gravity surged to triple intensity, engineered to simulate Torres's crushing pressure. Both combatants collapsed under the overwhelming force. But Maya had positioned them precisely so that Grax's massive body fell just beyond the boundary line, while she remained within bounds. As the gravity normalized and medical teams rushed in, the adjudicators reviewed the final positions. After tense deliberation, they announced, "Victory by boundary displacement. Earth advances to the championship." Hours later, Maya lay in intensive regeneration, her body fighting to recover from both the poison and the match's trauma. The door to her medical chamber slid open as Clorix entered. "Grax is dead," the Vespar announced without preamble. "Official report claims training complications." Maya struggled to focus through the haze of regenerative drugs. The Ardanians. Almost certainly. Clorix placed a data crystal beside her bed. This was transmitted from Grax's private quarters moments before his death. "A message for you, and evidence linking the Ardanian delegation to both your poisoning and his elimination." "He knew," Maya whispered. "He knew they'd kill him for failing." Grax was honorable to the end. Clorix's mandibles clicked in what Maya now recognized as respect. The message includes his final words. "The human understands what the consortium has forgotten. That strength without integrity is merely power, destructive and empty." Maya closed her eyes, exhaustion overwhelming her. "What happens now?" "You face Sentu in the championship match. A cybernetically enhanced warrior from the vacuum worlds, mathematically optimized for combat efficiency." Despite her condition, Maya laughed softly. Mathematical efficiency against human chaos. Interesting matchup. Clorix studied her with his alien gaze. "Your species continues to confound expectation. By all medical standards, you should not have survived today's match, yet you not only survived but adapted during combat." "That's what humans do," Maya murmured, drifting toward sleep. "We adapt." "Rest," Clorix advised, moving toward the door. "Tomorrow, I will show you something few outsiders have ever seen, the philosophical foundation upon which the arena was built." As Clorix departed, Maya's hand moved to the data crystal. Grax had died bringing her this evidence. Her path to the championship was marked by blood, both her own and others. Justice would need to be served, but first, she had a final match to prepare for, and a champion's heart to honor through victory. "These are the axioms of combat," Clorix explained, gesturing to the ancient glyphs floating in a holographic projection. Maya stood in the Vespar ancestral shrine, a chamber few non-Vespar had ever entered. The walls were lined with the molted exoskeletons of champion warriors, preserved in crystalline cases that captured the light from the gas giant visible through the vast viewport. For 3,000 years, the consortium has viewed combat as mathematical certainty, predictable, calculable, almost predetermined. Clorix continued. Each species believed their particular evolutionary advantages represented the pinnacle of combat efficiency. Maya studied the axioms, her newly enhanced translator struggling with concepts that had no human equivalent. "These aren't just rules. They're a philosophy." "Yes." Clorix's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "But humans view combat differently, don't you? As something creative." "We see it as a dialogue," Maya confirmed. "A conversation written in movement, constantly evolving." Outside the shrine, the arena station buzzed with unprecedented activity. Maya's advancement to the championship had created a galactic media frenzy. Betting syndicates across 17 worlds had suspended operations after Sentu's handlers released their combat prediction algorithms showing a 99.97% victory probability. "Sentu is not merely enhanced," Clorix warned as they left the shrine. "The vacuum evolved are already perfectly adapted to the most hostile environment imaginable. Their cybernetic optimizations make them living calculations, every movement precisely calibrated for maximum efficiency." Maya nodded, her expression resolute. "Then we'll need to introduce some variables they haven't calculated." The championship match became the most watched event in consortium history. 17 worlds suspended all activities as citizens gathered around neural feeds. The arena was filled beyond capacity, temporary viewing platforms constructed to accommodate dignitaries from across the galaxy. Sentu entered first, a sleek, streamlined being with matte black skin that absorbed light rather than reflecting it. Where a natural body would have joints and muscles, the vacuum-evolved champion moved with liquid precision, cybernetic enhancements visible as iridescent traceries beneath the surface. Then came Maya, wearing a simple exoskeleton to support her damaged spine. The arena's medical monitors tracked her vital signs, displaying them alongside her opponent's perfect biometric harmony. The contrast could not have been more stark. Human chaos against machine perfection. Championship match, victory by submission, incapacitation, or unanimous adjudication, announced the chief adjudicator. Commence. Sentu moved with blinding speed, executing attack patterns optimized through millions of simulations. Maya defended desperately, barely avoiding devastating strikes calculated to exploit her known weaknesses. The pattern established quickly, Sentu's overwhelming advantages forcing Maya into increasingly defensive postures. The vacuum-evolved cybernetics predicted her movements with uncanny accuracy, countering each technique before she fully executed it. The human's defeat appears inevitable, the arena commentator noted. Sentu's combat algorithms have mapped Commander Reeves' complete movement profile. In the diplomatic observation box, Ambassador Chen watched grimly as Maya absorbed another precisely calibrated strike. She can't win this conventionally. Beside him, Clarix remained silent, compound eyes fixed on Maya's increasingly erratic movements. Midway through the match, something changed. Maya began making deliberately incorrect moves, attacking at mathematically inopportune moments, defending positions that offered no strategic value, creating patterns, then abandoning them before completion. Sentu's fluid movements began to falter. The cybernetic enhancements that allowed perfect calculation became a liability as Maya's combat style grew increasingly abstract, almost artistic in its deliberate inefficiency. The arena analysts were baffled. Commander Reeves appears to be fighting irrationally, one commented. Her techniques contradict established combat principles. In the arena, Sentu's processors struggled to recalibrate as Maya's unpredictable style generated cascading error states in its prediction algorithms. Where it expected consistency, it found spontaneous innovation. Where patterns should emerge, it encountered deliberate chaos. For the first time in the championship, Sentu appeared uncertain, its movements hesitating microseconds between calculated responses. Seizing the moment, Maya feinted toward a predictable attack pattern, then deliberately collapsed as if her injuries had overcome her. Sentu's systems calculated a 100% victory probability and approached to deliver the final strike, exactly as Maya planned. With her last strength, Maya triggered a hidden switch that flooded the arena with a chaotic light pattern based on Earth's natural aurora borealis, harmless, but impossible for machine learning to predict. In the nanosecond of sensory confusion, she struck the cyborg's primary processing node. Sentu froze mid-motion, its perfect systems encountering an error state so fundamental that its entire combat protocol collapsed. Slowly, with mechanical precision, it raised a hand in the universal gesture of surrender. The arena erupted in astonished chaos as the combat theorists frantically debated what they'd witnessed. The victory that algorithms had declared impossible had occurred through means no simulation could have predicted. "What do you call that technique?" demanded the head adjudicator as Maya was helped from the arena, her body trembling with exhaustion. Maya smiled through bloodied lips. "We call it playing possum. Sometimes appearing weak is the strongest position of all." As medical teams rushed to stabilize her, reports emerged across the consortium network. Earth's champion had advanced to the final match against Draken, the undefeated reptilian whose regenerative capabilities had made him champion for 3 cycles. The match was scheduled in 7 days, if the human survived that long. Maya's recovery chamber pulsed with bioluminescent healing agents, her body suspended in regenerative fluid. Consortium medical technology worked furiously to repair damage accumulated through her unprecedented series of victories. Outside, the station corridors teemed with representatives from 17 worlds, all discussing the human anomaly who had shattered combat conventions. Her condition stabilized overnight, the chief medical officer explained to the gathered dignitaries. However, full recovery before the final match is unlikely. Ambassador Chen nodded grimly. May I see her? Inside the chamber, Maya floated in semi-consciousness, neural monitors tracking her brainwaves as healing nanites repaired tissue damage. Chen placed his palm against the transparent barrier, his diplomatic mask slipping to reveal genuine concern. Earth has received official membership offers from the Consortium Council, he said softly. Regardless of the final match outcome, you've secured humanity's future. No one would fault you for withdrawing now. Maya's eyes opened slowly, focusing on Chen through the viscous fluid. Her voice transmitted through the chamber's communication system. And Grax, the Ardanian corruption. Who answers for that if I withdraw? Chen's expression tightened. Politics is about choosing your battles, Commander. So is war, Maya replied. And this is one we need to win completely. The evidence from Grax's final transmission spread through the consortium networks like wildfire. Public demonstrations erupted on 12 worlds, citizens demanding accountability. The Ardanian delegation was placed under station arrest pending investigation, their economic influence temporarily suspended. 3 days before the final match, Maya was finally released from medical isolation. Her body had healed remarkably. Though scans showed permanent alterations to her neural pathways, adaptations her systems had developed in response to extreme stress. Clarix waited outside her quarters, mandibles clicking anxiously. Draken has requested a private meeting. Maya raised an eyebrow. The undefeated champion wants to meet before trying to kill me. Interesting courtesy. They met at Grax's memorial, a simple monument erected in the station's arboretum, where plant species from all 17 worlds intertwined in symbolic unity. Draken stood alone, his massive reptilian form silhouetted against the gas giant visible through the viewport. You honor a fallen warrior, Draken noted, his translator rendering his sibilant speech into human language, unusual for an opponent. He was honorable, Maya replied. That deserves respect, regardless of species. Draken studied her with ancient eyes, vertical pupils contracting in the ambient light. I serve greater powers than you know, human. Tomorrow, regardless of your clever tactics, I must win. The alternative is unthinkable. Before Maya could question him further, station security appeared at the arboretum entrance, forcing Draken to depart with a final, enigmatic nod. What did he mean? Maya asked Clarix as they watched the reptilian champion leave. The Vespar's compound eyes reflected uncertainty. I don't know, but Draken has always been different. His origins are shrouded in mystery. His techniques unlike any reptilian evolution should allow. The day of the final match arrived. The arena had been reconfigured to its most basic form, a perfect circle with no environmental features, nowhere to hide, no systems to manipulate. Pure combat in its most elemental state. Every viewing platform was filled beyond capacity, neural feeds straining under unprecedented demand as 17 worlds watched. The diplomatic boxes contained rulers and representatives from across the galaxy, the Ardanian section conspicuously empty. Draken entered first, his ceremonial armor adorned with the scales of defeated opponents, each one representing a victory in the arena. His regenerative capabilities were legendary, wounds healing almost instantly, limbs regrowing within minutes, stamina virtually unlimited. When Maya entered, a hush fell over the arena. Despite the medical miracles of consortium technology, her injuries had taken a visible toll. She wore a simple exoskeleton supporting her damaged spine, her movements careful and measured. Final championship match, announced the chief adjudicator, voice resonating throughout the station. Victory by submission or incapacitation. Commence. Drakan attacked with devastating speed, his strength overwhelming as he drove Maya backward. Each blow landed with precision, targeting known weaknesses in human physiology. Maya defended desperately, but the reptilian's advantages seemed insurmountable. Halfway through the match, Maya's exoskeleton failed catastrophically, circuits overloading from the strain. The medical monitors showed critical warnings as she collapsed. The combat adjudicators moved to call the match, but Maya forced herself upright, refusing medical intervention. The arena fell silent as she continued fighting through sheer will, each movement visibly agonizing without mechanical support. Drakan's attack slowed fractionally, his reptilian features showing what might have been respect. As the battle continued, Maya demonstrated humanity's quintessential quality, adapting through failure. With each exchange, she adjusted her approach, learning from defeats to gradually develop counters to Drakan's techniques. When she finally gained advantage through accumulated knowledge of his patterns, Drakan hesitated momentarily, then unleashed a forbidden neural disruptor, a technique explicitly banned for its fatality rate. Rather than calling for adjudication, Maya pushed through the attack despite blood streaming from her eyes and ears. "I will not yield," she screamed, the first word spoken in the arena in centuries. In a final desperate lunge, Maya executed a complex maneuver combining elements from every opponent she'd faced, forcing Drakan to the arena's edge. As they grappled at the boundary, he whispered something inaudible before she performed an unexpected move, intentionally damaging her remaining life support to generate a power surge that overloaded both their systems. They fell simultaneously, but Maya had positioned herself to land within bounds, while Drakan fell outside the boundary line. The combat adjudicators reviewed the final moments in stunned silence before declaring the first tie in arena history, a result Drakan accepted with unexpected grace. As medical teams rushed to stabilize Maya, the physician explained to Earth's delegation that she should have physically failed hours before. There is no physiological explanation for how she continued. It defies medical science. Clarix replied simply, "Humans call it heart, a concept with no translation in our languages." 3 weeks later, Maya stood before the Consortium Council, her body still healing but her spirit undiminished. The evidence against the Ardanian delegation had been overwhelming, leading to unprecedented reforms in Consortium governance. "In recognition of your achievements," the High Minister announced, "Earth is granted full membership with resource allocations exceeding standard protocols. Furthermore, the Council offers you joint championship with Drakan, the first shared title in arena history." Maya stepped forward to address the assembled representatives of 17 worlds. "I stand before you not as the strongest, fastest, or most technologically advanced champion. I stand as living proof that being broken doesn't mean being defeated. Humans don't win because we're superior. We win because we refuse to accept that failure is final." Her words catalyzed a philosophical revolution throughout the consortium. Species began reevaluating their development priorities, incorporating psychological resilience alongside technological advancement. The consortium established a new category in their evaluation metrics called Resolve Factor, formally recognizing humanity's defining characteristic.